Hi, and welcome to another episode of Physician in the Kitchen. I'm your host, Dr. Monique, a plant-based, board-certified family physician and founder of the brand Physician in the Kitchen. I help people discover, cook, and eat delicious plant-based foods because my mission is to fix America's health one plate at a time. Well, believe it or not, it's holiday time once again. And one of my favorite memories or reasons why I enjoy this time of year so much is, of course, all the delicious food that you get to eat, some new discoveries, and some kind of oldies but goodies. Well, today I am going to show you how to make a plant-based or vegan ginger cookie. Now, this is going to be different from a gingerbread man or a ginger person cookie because these are going to be more like drop cookies. We're going to just make up our batter, literally drop them on the pan and bake them. With gingerbread cookies, you have to refrigerate them, roll them out, use a cookie cutter. I don't want to do all that. I want to eat them and I want to eat them now. So I'm going to show you a way to make them a little bit healthier than the traditional cookie. But before we get into all that, be sure to do all the things. Click like, hit subscribe, and ring the notification bell. And of course, share, especially now, right? During the holidays, sharing is caring. So that way, neither you nor your loved ones or friends miss out on any of our plant-powered content. And be sure to join our Patreon family by clicking the link in the description. So enough about that. Let's get to cooking. Our all-star lineup of ingredients is as follows: light brown sugar, firmly packed, plant-based butter, all-purpose flour, whole wheat flour. We'll talk more about that in a second. Some baking soda, vanilla, molasses, our spices, cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, of course, cloves, and allspice. Some unsweetened applesauce, and some sugar for sanding or rolling the cookies in. Okay, so while our oven is warming up to 350, we're going to go ahead and cream our sugar and our butter. So we're going to go ahead and drop in our butter, put this on medium. And this has been softened at room temperature for just a few minutes. Plant-based butter doesn't take as long to soften when you take it out of the refrigerator, so you can be prepping your other ingredients while your sugar is softening. And then we're going to go ahead and add in our sugar and let that get acquainted for a few minutes. Let's go ahead and scrape down our sides because we want everything to mix together. So this recipe is pretty simple. You're going to mix all your wet ingredients, sift together your dry ingredients, add them together, scoop them out, put them on your baking sheet, put them in the oven, and then eat them. Can't get much more simpler than that. So now we're going to add in the rest of our wet ingredients. So I'm using unsweetened applesauce. That helps to cut down on the amount of sugar in this recipe. We're using the natural sweetness from the applesauce. So even though it's unsweetened, of course, apples still have some sugar in them. And then, of course, we're adding in some molasses. So we've got a couple of sources of sugar. The good thing about this recipe, the way it's written, it's about 80 to 90 calories per cookie. So it is still a cookie. It's still dessert. But you can eat it with a little less guilt around the holidays. But of course, all things in moderation, even during the holidays. And then we're going to add in our vanilla. Just mix together. This mixture may look a little curdled. That's perfectly normal. It's going to come together perfectly when we add the flour and the spices. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and prep our dry ingredients. So for this recipe, if you have a whole wheat pastry flour, that's going to give you a nice lighter cookie. I don't have that. It can be a little hard to find, can be more expensive. So I am improvising with what I do have, which is some whole wheat flour and some all-purpose flour. So almost 1-to-1, a little bit more of the whole wheat. But we're going to mix this together, and that's going to give us the almost or a close approximation of what a whole wheat pastry flour would be like. Let's go ahead and add in our spices and then our salt and baking soda. So we're using baking soda in this recipe because I want the cookies to spread, and I also want them to have a little bit of a crispier edge. Nice soft middle, but a crispier edge. I don't want a cakey cookie. I want a cookie. So using baking soda instead of baking powder. Baking powder makes your cookies rise a little bit more, gives them a little bit more of a cakey texture. Baking is a science, and so, I refer to my kitchen as my lab, so it's important to know when to use what. And I like to sift my flour. I think it gives you a lighter cookie, particularly when we're using a slightly heavier flour with the whole wheat. And I make sure that all my ingredients are mixed together. So now we're going to put our dry ingredients in with our wet. So I'm gonna add this in and then turn on my mixer on low so that I don't get flour everywhere. And I'll start to add in the rest. This smells so good from the spices. It smells like the holidays. I love those warming spices. That's what they call nutmeg and cinnamon and cloves. Because they make you feel all warm inside. At least that's why I think anyway. And I'm going to go ahead and taste it. The cool thing about not using eggs in your baking is you can taste your raw ingredients. Oh, that's so good. That looks pretty good. Now it's time to scoop these out and put them on our baking sheets. Okay, so we are ready to start scooping out our mixture. And to make my cookies nice and uniform, I use an ice cream scoop. So this one's pretty big because I want bigger cookies. If you want them smaller, then you can use, of course, a smaller ice cream scoop. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these on our baking sheet. Make sure you leave space in between because they're gonna spread and you want some room for them to do that. If you make them smaller, you get about 2 dozen or so with this recipe. So with this size, we'll see how many I get, probably about a dozen, we'll see. So I made this recipe also without sugar, and the cookies did not spread. They pretty much stayed the exact same shape and size that they were. So if you're thinking about modifying this and not putting any sugar in it, just be aware of that and go ahead and flatten out your cookies to the shape you want them to be, because they're not going to spread. That sugar really does help them to spread out. So it looks like I'm gonna get about 10 cookies out of this batch, which is good, right? You don't have a lot of self-control like me at times. Having a smaller amount is a good thing. So almost 10 cookies. 9 and 1 to grow on. How about that? And then the last thing we're gonna do is, when I think of ginger cookies, I think of that crackly top. And I want these cookies to have that. So to get the crackly top, we're going to coat them in a little bit of sugar. So I'm just gonna take my sugar and sprinkle it on top. And this has to do with the outer part of the cookie cooking faster than the inner part. And so the sugar helps to dry out the top or the surface. So as the outer part heats up and the inner part is cooking slower, it expands. And as it expands, because it's drier, it pulls apart, and that's how you get the crackles. I think that's so cool. Plus this gives you a little bit of extra sugar in your cookie. So we're gonna pop these in the oven, bake them for about 8 minutes at 350. Doctor's orders. Ginger is a root with potent medicinal properties and has been used for centuries in traditional medicine. Let's take a look at some of its health benefits. Anti-inflammatory effects. Ginger contains bioactive compounds such as gingerol, which reduce inflammation, making it effective for managing arthritis, muscle soreness, and other inflammatory conditions. Digestive health. Ginger aids digestion by stimulating bile production and increasing digestive enzymes. It is widely used to alleviate nausea, motion sickness, and indigestion. Pain relief. Ginger's anti-inflammatory properties can reduce menstrual pain and joint discomfort. Immune system support. Gingerol and other antioxidants in ginger help combat oxidative stress, boosting overall immune function. Its antimicrobial properties can help fight off infections, including respiratory issues. Ginger is also known to soothe sore throats and reduce the severity of colds and flu symptoms. Blood sugar and heart health. Ginger may help regulate blood sugar levels, lower LDL or bad cholesterol, and improve circulation, promoting cardiovascular health. Antioxidant protection. Ginger fights free radicals, which can reduce the risk of chronic diseases such as cancer, diabetes, and neurodegenerative disorders such as Alzheimer's. Ginger can be consumed in various forms depending on personal preference and purpose. For example, fresh ginger can be eaten grated, sliced, or chopped and is used for teas, cooking, and juicing. Dried ginger can be powdered or whole and used in baking, curries, or as a spice in other dishes. Ginger tea is made by steeping fresh or dried ginger in hot water for a soothing drink. Candied ginger is a sweetened version often used for snacking or nausea relief. Ginger can also be pickled and is commonly used in Japanese cuisine, especially with sushi, as a palate cleanser. Ginger oil is used in aromatherapy or as a topical application for inflammation relief. Ginger supplements come in either capsules or tablets and are often used for specific therapeutic purposes. Lastly, ginger can be juiced, where the juice is extracted from fresh ginger and used to make potent drinks or detoxes. By incorporating ginger into your diet or routine, you can enjoy its multifaceted health benefits and bolster your immune system naturally. Keep in mind, while ginger is generally considered safe for most people, there are certain groups who should be cautious or avoid its use. People with bleeding disorders. Ginger has mild blood thinning properties, which can increase the risk of bleeding. People with bleeding disorders like hemophilia or those taking anticoagulant medications such as warfarin or aspirin should consult a healthcare provider before using ginger. Pregnant women. While ginger can help relieve pregnancy-related nausea, excessive consumption may increase the risk of uterine contractions or miscarriage. It is best to use it in moderation and again, consult a healthcare professional. People with gallstones. Ginger stimulates bile production, which could aggravate symptoms in people with gallstones. Individuals with diabetes. Ginger may lower blood sugar levels. Therefore, diabetics on medication should monitor their blood sugar closely to avoid hypoglycemia or low blood sugar. Those with gastrointestinal disorders. While ginger can relieve indigestion in large amounts, it may irritate the stomach lining or worsen conditions like acid reflux, ulcers, or colitis. People scheduled for surgery. Because of its blood thinning effects, ginger should be avoided at least 1 to 2 weeks before surgery to reduce bleeding risks. Allergic individuals. Some people may experience allergic reactions to ginger, such as skin rashes, itching, or difficulty breathing. And lastly, people taking certain medications. Ginger may interact with blood thinners, enhancing their effect and making the blood thin easily, blood pressure medications, which can potentially cause blood pressure to drop too low, and anti-diabetic drugs, which can cause a risk of overly low blood sugar. So, in general, if you fall into any of these categories or have underlying health conditions, it's best to consult your healthcare provider before consuming ginger regularly or in large amounts. All right, so our cookies have been cooling on this cooling rack for a few minutes. We are going to go ahead and give them a taste. They smell delicious. All right, it's tasting time. As I said, my kitchen smells delicious. These cookies look delicious, and they are nice and crackly on the top like I wanted them to. Now remember, I used a pretty big scoop to make these, so these came out bigger. If you want your smaller, just use a smaller scoop, and they'll actually cook quicker too. These took a little longer to cook because they're so thick, but look at that. The inside is soft, the outside is a little crispy. Tastes like fall. It tastes like the holidays. This is gonna go so well with some apple cider, some coffee, some tea, or just cold milk or ice cream. It's so good. The ginger, of course, is the main attraction here, but the other spices, the allspice, the cloves, the nutmeg, the cinnamon, all play together and harmonize so nicely. So I like it. So if you guys make this recipe, please tag me at Physician in the Kitchen. I'd love to see your version of it. Let me know if you made any tweaks and made it your own, or if you used the same recipe I'm making. So be sure, remember to do all the things. Click like, hit share, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our future videos. And if you want even more behind the scenes or special exclusive recipes and other perks and fun things, be sure to join our Patreon family. So from my family to yours, happy holidays, be safe, and may the new year bring you all that you could wish for and more. I'm Dr. Monique, telling you to keep it 100, plant-based that is. Eat well.